All right, guys, welcome to episode 11 of the podcast. I am here with Lana Victoriia. She is an entrepreneur. She's a mindset and subconscious breakthrough coach. She is a business strategist, a real estate and cryptocurrency investor. She's certified in NLP, EFT, and hypnosis, and her mission is to help you become the healthiest, wealthiest, and happiest version of yourself. Lana, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Abe. It's so good to be here.
Likewise. So this is, for everybody listening, this is round two. I just came back from Colombia and we tried recording this in Colombia. It didn't work out. So we decided to do it again. And I'm super, super excited and grateful to have you here today. I know today the conversation is going to flow amazingly. So Lana, I wanted to have you here because this has never been easier podcast and you're doing it. You're 26 years young. You run a personal brand-based business like many of the people that are tuning in do or are looking to do. And you've been doing it for the past couple of years. So this podcast is all about showing people that it's never been easier, that it's possible. And by them listening to your story, they'll be able to see how you did it. They'll be able to see that if you did it, that they can do it too. And beyond that, I know that over the past couple of years, you've developed a big box of tools that you utilize to coach your own clients. So I would love to dive into that and maybe even share some of those tools with our audience so they can utilize them on their own journey.
Definitely. Let's do it.
Beautiful. So let's get started. Take us to the beginning of your entrepreneurial story. Where does it start? Where do you start realize that you're an entrepreneur? Take us there.
Yeah. Well, so my journey started back in school. I don't know, like high school, college, university. And I always had really big dreams for my life. I always wanted a big life, lots of luxury, travel, all of the things. And I was always really confused with how to get it, right? Like this was back in the day when people weren't just influencers building businesses online. That wasn't a thing. And I had some friends who did like the working holiday visa and they traveled or they worked on cruise ships and things like that. And I knew that was a route, but I didn't really see that for me because I always had this big vision of a big career. I thought I was going to be like a CEO exec at some huge global corporation. And I didn't see, taking the time off to travel and work on a cruise ship, maybe be a waitress on a cruise ship or in another country was really going to lead me to that career that I wanted. And so I did the traditional path and I went to school, got a corporate job, and I met my now boyfriend. And I saw that he had built his own marketing agency and he worked for himself from home and was able to travel. And that was really my first experience with this lifestyle. And I was like, that's possible. And at this time, I was working in public relations at a healthcare company in my hometown. And I was really getting into like the podcasts. I was listening to all the personal development podcasts, business podcasts, and everything. And that's when I really it hit me. I was like, I need to start my own business and work for myself online. Like that is how I'm going to get to that dream life that I wanted. And so at the time, like I said, I was working in public relations. I was doing social media for the company that I was working for. And so start with what you know, right? So I started out, doing social media, building funnels and marketing materials for other entrepreneurs. And this is something I tell my clients all the time now. It's where you start with your business. It's just a start. Your business will grow and evolve as you do. And that really happened really fast with me. I quickly realized that, well, I'm so passionate about social media and marketing and all of that. It wasn't exactly where my heart was. I didn't really want to be doing the work for my clients, especially doing all the marketing for them. And at the same time, I also was really realizing the power of your mindset. I had a couple clients and I could really tell my clients who were rocking it and, just really accelerating in their business and making lots of money, and the clients that were kind of stagnant. And the difference was their mindset. And so the clients who had maybe not the most, they didn't believe in themselves the most, they didn't have the most confidence, I actually started coaching them on their mindset, helping them work through some of their blocks. And that was really helping them. And so that's when I really realized my passion for coaching and for more of like the mindset work. And so after that, that's when I went and took my certification in NLP, EFT, hypnosis, and time technique to really learn all these tools to actually work with the subconscious mind, so that when I'm coaching my clients, it's not just a conversation that we're having. I'm actually working with their subconscious to reprogram their subconscious mind to get them those massive breakthroughs.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I love the fact that it was your boyfriend that was able to come into your life and show you that a different paradigm, a different way of kind of going about things
Mhm.
eh, was possible and existed. And it's a whole reason why I started this podcast, because I also had a person in my life that showed me a different paradigm, and I was like, whoa, like I could go that route, like that exists. And I feel that I've also been that person to a lot of people, so I love that. And I love that you started with what you knew. I feel a lot of the times people look at someone that's positioned like yourself in a certain niche, or they look at me and they want to jump to that point in time, right? A huge lesson to me this year and the past year has been to honor my journey, and to just kind of take it one step at a time. And if you continue to trust in that, that'll take you to where you're currently at.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. So you've gone through marketing agency, branding, to like now becoming someone that helps people with their mindset. And I always tell my clients, like, look, like I can teach you the strategy, I can teach you the ads, I can teach you the sales, but the most important thing is the mindset, because that's what's running the show. So
Exactly. And that's exactly what I found. I was like, I can, build you this beautiful funnel, all the social media. But if you don't believe in yourself, and we know everything is energy, right? And so the energy that you put behind those things too is what's going to make the difference. If you write an email and you're just like, your energy is flat, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to convert. Whereas if you write an email and you put all your heart and your passion and your energy behind it, you'll actually notice in the statistics that you'll have a higher conversion rate.
yeah, 100%. And the interconnectedness of social media, and as these tools evolve, being able to push that energy becomes much easier. And that's what like a brand is nowadays, right? Like a brand, it's not just the logo or the colors, but it's what your the whole idea of whatever enterprise you're trying to push forward makes the other person feel, and to your point, it's all energy, so tell us a little bit about how then, as you start utilizing, or not utilizing, but learning these different tools, this EFT and hypnosis and NLP, how do you personally start utilizing them in your own journey as you're transitioning from corporate to becoming an entrepreneur, and to then evolving into a mindset and subconscious breakthrough coach?
Yeah. I think, a lot of people ask the question, like, how do you stay motivated? Right. And motivation is not a thing. It's your habits that you have.
Mhm.
And so I actually use these tools by creating habits around them. So I tap every single morning to really step into that identity, right? So EFT tapping is actually emotional freedom technique, and it involves tapping on different meridian points or energy centers in the body. And what this does is it releases stuck energy, especially like negative energy that can like stay stuck in our muscles, which can manifest into our actual lives, either as maybe like imposter syndrome, comparisonitis, self-doubt, even as like physical pain and dis-ease can be stuck energy in the body. So every single morning I tap out any limiting beliefs, doubts that I'm feeling, and I tap into my like next level CEO self. So the best version of me, right? And by doing that, I really just like give myself kind of like that dopamine hit and really just feel so good. I also have created a hypnosis script that I can listen to. And again, like it all depends. I don't have a morning routine that is super like I have to do this every single day. I kind of have like my groups of things, and then I'll pick and choose based on how much time I have, how I'm feeling that morning, what's going on. So I can listen to my hypnosis script that I love. It's kind of like hypnosis is like a deep meditation kind of, and it really just puts you into that state where you can access the subconscious mind to reprogram again to be my best self. As well as just with NLP, there's so many different techniques. It's not like NLP is just one technique. So it's just ongoing work. Anytime that I have, a block, a limiting belief, anything come up, I address it. I acknowledge it. I say like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm feeling. Is this ultimately true? Maybe I'll do a reframe, like what is true instead? And just like actually working on that belief. I think society has taught us a lot to like suppress our emotions and just to kind of ignore them. And I think that maybe sometimes that there's a time and a place for that, but mostly we need to be addressing them, finding the root cause of why we're experiencing that emotion or feeling, and then actually work to overcome it so it doesn't come up again in the future.
Beautiful. I love that you take these tools that you learn and you incorporate it into habits, because we often think we create our futures, but that's not the case, right? We create our habits, and our habits then
Yeah.
create our futures.
It's
And,
like when something comes up for you, like when you're having a bad day, you may have a habit of, just turning the TV on and watching Netflix or scrolling on Instagram or TikTok, or, you may have a habit of, drinking or whatever. Like these are habits that we do. And most of the time when we're feeling something that we don't, is not desirable, we have a bad habit, or nothing's bad or good, right? But a habit that's not necessarily serving us. And so by really reprogramming these habits and saying, okay, when I'm not feeling my best, I'm instead of, getting a drink, I'm going to do some tapping. Instead of doing this, I'm going to do that. And that's actually how we can really change our whole life.
powerful. I love this. So I can take this in so many different directions. And I want to get a little human here, because you're on this journey, right? You're 26, I'm 25. We're really young, right? And in the grand scheme of things, what are you currently tapping into, right? Like, are you open to sharing like some of the work that you're currently doing for this next phase in your life, kind of giving a behind the scenes of the doctor kind of working on himself with the tools that he or she has at this point in their journey?
Yeah, definitely. So I'd say, it's consistent work, right? A lot of the things that I was tapping out, a year ago, I'm still tapping out now. It's just that next level, right? So if I'm maybe want to like tap out, like I often have like imposter syndrome, right? So at first it would have been like, who am I to be a coach, right? And tapping that out, like no one's gonna buy from me, like no one's gonna listen to me, I have no advice to give. Maybe some of these were the things that were coming up. And then I would tap that out. Now it maybe looks like, oh, like to get to that next money increase, right? That next pay grade. Every new level, you have a new devil, right? New level, new devil is like the
Ooh,
saying
I
in
like
the
that.
industry, right?
Yeah.
So now I would say like I'm tapping out. I don't tap out like, so like when I'm working with like my clients or I'm doing a tapping script, I would tap on something specific, right? Like I would actually create like tapping out imposter syndrome to tap into confidence. When I'm doing it on myself, it more so just flows. It's not like on a specific thing. It's more just in general how I am feeling. So it could be like maybe today I'm just tired, right? I have a lot of days like there's really heavy energy going on in the world, and there's a lot of days that it's just heavy energy in general, and kind of why show up, right? With all this craziness happening in the world. So I'll tap out, like not wanting to do anything essentially, and tap into, I love my job. Because I really do. Like, I love being on this podcast with you, Abe. I love working with my clients. I love what I do. I really do. And so tapping into that excitement and talking about the things that I love. Like, I love connecting with others. I love the transformations that my clients get. I love just the community that I get to build, the people that I get to work with, the results that my clients get. And the more I talk about it, the higher my energy goes. And so when I tap on that and I'm talking about it and I'm talking about all the things that are exciting me about the work that I'm doing, I'm no longer thinking about, I don't want, like, the world or what's going on or the heavy energy that I'm feeling.
Beautiful. Thank you for for sharing that with me. And you said new level, new devil. And that's exactly why I asked this question, because people think like, oh, there comes a point where you figure it out. And that's the farthest thing from the truth, because if you're doing the work, every time you're leveling up, and the amount of resistance that you're encountering is equal to the level that you're at, and you always have to be utilizing these tools and leveling up so you can continue to grow. And if you don't grow, well, your business is not going to grow, right? So,
Exactly.
you're someone that has studied and studied at length the power of the subconscious mind. So let's talk a little bit about how the subconscious mind plays a role in how we as entrepreneurs show up and work, and the results that we're able to generate with our businesses. How important is the subconscious mind?
It's really important. And I mean, just knowing how, like, what our subconscious thoughts are, what our like default programs are, it's the only way to change, right? Unless like you're somebody, I know there's some people who are just so confident and like they don't experience any depression or anxiety, like they're just so on it. Like maybe they don't need to do any of their reprogramming, but I would say for most of us, in order to actually get to that next level and to create a life that we are obsessed with, a life that we really love, it's going to take some work, right? And so,
Let me pause you there.
yeah,
Why don't we have that programming as a default? Why do most of us need to do this work? What is it in society that programs us so we don't just have a winner's mindset, if you will?
I mean, why don't they teach the law of attraction, manifesting, and about the subconscious mind in school? Why don't they teach us about how to invest in school, right? I think the system, it doesn't necessarily promote our optimal progression, to say that lightly, right?
Yeah.
I think the way society is set up right now, it's not set up that we are actually going to be our best selves, right? It's set up that we're going to go to school, we're going to get a corporate job, we're going to pay our taxes, we're going to retire, we're kind of just going to follow in line. And I think that that's a huge shift that's taking place right now, that people are like, I don't want to do this. This is not the American dream, right? I don't want to work, 10 hours a day for 60 plus years of my life and retire when I'm old and can't do anything. Like, that's just doesn't make sense anymore. And we now can't even afford to like buy houses and invest and do things like that. And that's why I talk about like real estate and crypto and things like that are so important to make our money work for us. So that way we don't like, we're not working so hard and retiring when we can't do anything anymore.
Got
So
it. Yeah.
that's why I think like it's so important that if you want to actually like, there are the people who want to create their life, and then there are the people who kind of let life pass them by, right? And if you want to actually create a life that you love, it's going to take some work, but that work is so worth it in the end.
Beautiful, which is it's a beautiful connection to what we were talking about before I asked you, like why are we not set up this way? So yeah, it's all about getting into the driver's seat, right, of your life,
Yes.
and learning how to take the wheel, if you will. So the program uh, that's working behind the scenes, you were talking about this and the importance of getting it right. So please continue.
Yeah. So, well, first off, the thoughts that we have, I think it's like, I forget the exact number, but I think it's like at least 80% of our thoughts are the same thoughts that we have over and over and over again. And so if your thoughts are like limiting beliefs or disempowering thoughts, maybe thoughts like, I could never do that, you know, that's not for me. No one's going to buy from me. No one's going to follow me. These thoughts are disempowering thoughts. They're not going to allow us to get to that next level. And if you're having this thought over and over and over again, we're not going to get to the next level. So we need to be aware of these thoughts that we're having and then be able to reprogram them. And so basically what happens is at any second of any day, our mind is taking in millions of bits of information. Everything from like this green plant that I keep touching that's moving from, the pink chair and how soft it is, to the little hum that's going on in the background, to everything that's going on. And if we were actually consciously aware of all of these things, we would go crazy. If we were aware of everything that was like, think of our body and how our body functions, that we're not paying attention to, okay, like move your hand and your stomach's digesting and all of these things. We're not aware of that, right? It's all happening subconsciously. And so our mind will actually delete, distort, or generalize all of this information based on different things like our mood, what time it is, how much sleep we got, the past, right? Different things that have happened. Any of these things can help us delete, distort, or generalize. And so the information that's getting deleted, obviously, we're not even consciously aware of it, right? If it's distorted, then it's something that's going to happen in our reality that our mind is going to distort to reaffirm the beliefs that it already has, right? Because your ego always wants to be right. So if you maybe, and this is why like, some people will get a big check, will get a large sum of money, right? But they don't believe that they're worthy of that money, or they have a limiting belief around money. And then right away, they're also going to get a bill that comes in the mail that they'll have to pay off. So they didn't actually make any money, right? Because they had to pay it off, right? And that's because everything is energy. And so when you get the money, your brain is going to think, oh, well, you're not worthy of it. You're not actually going to make money. No one's going to pay you. You don't progress in life, right? You don't get to that next level. And so what's then going to happen is it's actually going to manifest something else to take that money away, to prove you right, because your ego always wants to be right.
Beautiful. Yeah. So I've been to a couple of seminars with Joe Dispenza, and he speaks a lot about this, and he speaks about doing it consciously. But what's really striking me during this conversation is that what's going in the subconscious we're not even aware of, but at an energetic level that still has a tremendous impact on what's being reflected out here, right? Because everything is a mirror. So now that you've kind of shared the importance of the subconscious and of reprogramming your subconscious for success, what are some tools that people can utilize to start doing that work and start tapping into their subconscious and seeing the power that it has, that they're not even aware of, and that every day it's having an effect on how they show up? And it's funny that we're talking about the subconscious, because today I posted this quote by Carl Jung, right, on my Instagram, that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will control your life and you will call it fate.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, what are some tools that people can start to utilize?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's exactly it. Like the very first thing that I would say is start to be aware of your thoughts. and your actions and just how you show up, right? Be the observer of your thoughts and your actions, right? Start to notice when something happens, how are you responding, right? And is that serving you or not serving you, right? Because when we are aware of what we're doing, that's when we actually can take our power back.
Is there a
If we're just,
practice to be able to become aware? Like, where do people even start with that?
I would like, I love the Notes app in my phone. And so when I have a disempowering thought, or if I'm like responding or reacting to something that happens, I'll write it down.
I love that.
It's going to take some time. The first step, honestly, I think is just practicing being aware, right? Like it's just, I write it down. And if I have the same thought more than once, I'll actually mark that off so you can see what thoughts are stronger than other thoughts.
Okay. Love
Okay.
that. I love that. I love that because we think that if you just become aware of it in that moment, that you're going to remember. And I think we often overestimate what we can hold on our heads. There's this idea of building a second brain outside of your brain, and that's like putting everything that's like coming into your brain or whatever's important on paper or on a folder or on the notes, so then you can let this machine kind of do its thing,
Yeah.
But cool. So developing awareness by writing it down and then reviewing it as they come up. So go on.
Yeah. So write it down and notice like what it is. So if, let's say you have a belief that no one's going to buy from you. Okay. Well, you can look at, is there a feeling attached to that belief, right? Like, how does that belief make you feel? Or like when you thought that, did you have a feeling, right? So maybe you felt bad or unworthy or whatever the feeling was. And then you can go into like, is that ultimately true? Right. And this is, we're going to actually reframe that belief, right? So is that belief ultimately true that, what did I say? No one's going to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
So is that true that no one's going to pay you? Have you been paid before? Yes. Would someone pay you for something that you're an expert in?
Yes.
Yes. Right. So is that ultimately true? No. And then what is true? Right. So we're kind of like working it through. We're not just jumping from one to the other. Like, let's actually work through it.
Beautiful.
So what is a belief that is more true than no one's going to pay me? And maybe you're not at that point where you can say people love to pay me, right? Maybe that's the end goal, but maybe you're not there yet.
Yeah,
So
let me try. So if I do good work, people will pay me. Could that be a belief that I can start utilizing to kind of tap into to just start like progressing, like kind of going up the ladder?
For sure.
Yeah.
Or something like, people who, like, if you're thinking of a specific thing, right? Let's say you want to become a coach, right? And let's say you've made like a huge transformation in your health, right? So could you say somebody who is in my old position, who had that old health problem or health issue, would they pay me to get to where I am now?
Okay.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
probably,
Yeah.
right? Do you have something of value to give to somebody? Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So it's building up all of these things. And as you can build that up and feel more confident in those areas, then you can work to the people love to pay me. And that will feel good because you also have all these reasons why people would love to pay you. Right. It's like kind of building up that proof, right? Like your conscious mind's not going to be all of a sudden just shift its whole way of thinking, right? It needs that proof of why would people like to pay me, right? So give it that proof.
I love that. I love that. It's like performing surgery on your beliefs. And I often talk about a book that has had a huge influence in my life called Psycho-Cybernetics, and it's all about self-image, right? And you can summarize the whole book in behavior follows belief. And I love this framework that you just gave us of first become aware, right? Then kind of utilize doubt, like inject doubt into that belief because you believe it. And if I understand it right, it's by injecting doubt into it that you start to kind of unbelief that. And then once like that belief becomes a little malleable, like you're like, I don't know if this is true, then like you have a fertile ground to insert a much more empowering belief.
Yeah. And we have some beliefs that are going to be easy to work through because you're not like certain of them, right? And then we have some of those beliefs that they're just so deeply ingrained in us that it is like adding that little bit of doubt is going to be like the challenging part. But if you just keep at it, right? Like it's gonna shift and you're gonna make that. And those are the beliefs that you're gonna have to like keep working on. Maybe you work on them every single day, but you'll be able to shift them. And the more you work on them, the easier it's gonna be.
Beautiful. So repetition is important in this process. It's not something that you do once and it's over, right?
It can be, especially like with some of the tools that I like the NLP tools that I use to access the subconscious mind, right? Like that exercise that I kind of just mentioned is a little bit more with the conscious mind,
Yeah.
right? But if you were doing like a time technique where we're actually going back in your timeline to a past event that made you believe that thing,
Yeah.
you can eliminate that emotion, feeling, belief instantly.
Wow.
Um,
Yes.
but even some of those beliefs, like you have, like it still requires a little bit of repetition.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So I like this alone is a very powerful tool. And I think you did an amazing job at explaining it in a way that people can start to apply into their own lives. I mean, I've been taking notes this whole time. So I'm learning.
I love
And
that.
it's why I love doing this podcast because I get to learn too, so
Yeah.
so thank you for sharing that. Is
No
there
problem.
any other tools that you want to share, simple stuff that people can do or simple habits? I know at one point you shared with me a tool of putting alarms on your phone, and I love that.
Yes. So another habit is like really like taking on that like alter ego identity or that version of you who has already done the thing, right? So again, like let's just say that you want to start a coaching business, right? And let's say right now you're still at your 9 to 5 job, you haven't started yet. And so think about the version of you who already has that business, right? Who, like, how do they act? How do they show up? What are those thoughts that they have and those stories that they're telling themselves? And my absolute favorite one, like favorite question for this is how do they respond to challenges? Okay. And so when you can create this identity and like journal on it, visualize on it, whatever works for you, but the more specific you can be, the better, right? And become that version of you now. Don't wait until you're a coach to show up as the coach, right? Show up as the coach right now. And so, one thing that you can do for that, this is the exercise that Abe was just referring to, is set alarms in your phone. I just do them on like vibrate. I don't have any noise, but you could do that as well. And I set them like maybe 4 or 5 times throughout the day. And every single time your alarm goes off, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, just feel into the energy of being that person. Okay. So if that coach, that version of you that you're embodying, maybe they're super confident. Maybe they like speak really well. They feel good. They smile. Maybe they like act really like calmly and level-headedly to challenges. Um, Anything like that, right? So just as soon as your alarm goes off, just like feel into that version of you, and kind of the next thing that you do it as the version of you who is already the coach or the thing, right? And the more that you can actually put on this identity and feel into this identity, you'll actually start to merge with them and take on that identity, and it'll actually be you.
Powerful. I love that. I love that. And I feel that we could talk about identity for a whole other hour.
Yeah,
It's a topic,
I love identity work.
it's a topic that I'm fascinated by it at every level. I've had to again elevate my identity. I'm sure this is the work that you do, so you know very well. And maybe we can leave that for round two.
Round two.
eh,
Yeah.
For those of you guys watching or listening, if you guys want us to do a round two on identity, definitely let us know. And that said, I think this is a good point to kind of start wrapping up this first round. I got a couple more questions for you. So the first one, what would you say to someone that's getting started on this entrepreneurial journey of whether it's becoming a coach or building a personal brand based business in the digital space? What would you say to someone that's getting started and so looking at and perhaps they're listening to this podcast and they're watching you or they're watching me and they're thinking like, man, like, could I actually do it? Like, should I go for it?
Yeah, I absolutely love that question. And the best advice that I really have to say is there is no such thing as failure, only feedback. And that goes with anything in life, but it really goes with your business. Like, no matter what happens, you put a program out there, no one signs up. You don't make money the first month, no matter what happens, right? Like the first idea that you have doesn't end up being what you want to do. It's not a failure because you can take what you learned and carry that forward. And anything that didn't work, you now know what to improve on for next time. And on the entrepreneurial journey, there's going to be challenges that come up. And that's really the beauty of it that you get. I think it's the ultimate personal development experience. You really transform so much as a person when you become an entrepreneur. But you will never fail unless you give up. There will always be another launch, another program, another client, another thing to do that you can try again and keep trying until you find the right niche, until you find the right community, until you find the right thing that fits. If you know that this is the journey for you and it's such a rewarding journey, then just keep going. Don't give up. Believe in yourself fully and have that confidence that this is everything that you're doing is a step in the right direction and you are going to get there. Just don't give up.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you. Thank you, Lana.
You're welcome.
Yeah, feedback is everything. And it's this very slight shift in perspective that can make all the difference. That's powerful. So Lena, I'm sure after you so eloquently kind of talking about the subconscious and sharing these tools, people are going to be interested in maybe reaching out to you, working with you. Um, what services do you offer, and how can people connect with you if they want to learn more about you?
I love that. So you can connect with me on Instagram. I'm Lana Victoriia, and the last two I's, or the last I is a double I, so Victoriia. So I'm Lana Victoriia across all platforms. My website is lanavictoriia.com. You can reach out to me there. I do one-on-one coaching, so I offer short-term intensives, 6 weeks, as well as 3-month coaching programs for a little bit more. If you're starting a business, really needing that extra support, I love my 3-month coaching programs. I also have some courses that I offer, but really if you want to get the deep dive work into the subconscious mind, then I would love to work with you one-on-one. And like I said, you can reach out to me on social or on my website.
All right, guys, definitely reach out to Lana if you want to get your mindset right or work on anything related to business strategy. Lana, thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to doing round two.
Thank you so much, Abe. I look forward to round two too.